Stella had always been the kind of girl who tried to shine quietly. She was 16, soft-spoken, intelligent, and carried the kind of innocence that made people feel she was younger than she really was. Her long blonde hair fell gently over her shoulders, and her blue eyes always reflected a mixture of fear and hope. She studied in 10th class at a small school in London, and though her teachers admired her brilliance, they also noticed the sadness she hid behind her smiles. Her father, Daniel, was known in the neighborhood as a strict and hard man. He wasn't evil, at least not in the beginning, but life had turned him bitter. A failed business, a broken marriage, and years of feeling like he wasn't enough had made him harsh and controlling. Instead of healing, he had built walls while Stella kept crashing into every day, every morning. Stella tiptoed around the house, hoping to avoid another argument. But something as small as a misplaced book, a stain on the uniform, or a late breakfast could trigger Daniel's anger. He always shouted, lectured, demanded perfection, but never once asked, "Are you okay?" She lived with him, yet felt completely alone. One evening, after a long school day, Stella came home exhausted. She had scored second position in her class in achievement most would celebrate, but her father only glared at the report card. Second. Second? Do you think second place is acceptable in my house? Her throat tightened. Dad, I tried my best. Your best isn't enough, he snapped, throwing the paper onto the floor. Until you achieve what I expect, you will follow my rules. No friends, no outings, no nonsense. She wanted to cry, but the tears refused to fall. She had cried too many times already. Later that night, Stella lay awake in bed. She could hear her father pacing in the living room, muttering to himself, complaining to no one. The house felt suffocating. Her life felt like a prison. She finally whispered to herself, "I can't live like this anymore." At that moment, something inside her broke, and something else awakened. The idea of running away came quietly, like a soft breeze. But once it entered her mind, it refused to leave. She imagined a world where she wasn't yelled at, controlled, or treated like a burden. A world where she could study, smile, breathe, dot around midnight. She quietly packed a small bag, just a few clothes, her school ID, a water bottle, and the little money she had saved secretly from lunch allowances. She folded her favorite blue sweater and placed it on top. It was the only thing that felt comforting. Before leaving, she looked around her room, her little sanctuary of childhood drawings, books, and memories. Everything felt too heavy to take along, with a final deep breath. She tiptoed toward the front door. Her hand trembled as she turned the knob. Her heart pounded so loudly she feared Daniel might hear it. But the house remained silent. She stepped out into the cold night air. The streets were empty. The world felt huge and dangerous, but strangely welcoming. For the first time, she felt freedom. She walked quickly, pulling her bag close. But as she reached the end of the street, she looked back. The house stood still, dark, and cold, just like her father's heart had become. "Goodbye," she whispered. Though she wasn't sure if she meant it forever, Stella kept walking, but she had no idea that the decision she made that night would not only change her life, it would expose truths, break masks, destroy people's pride, and bring a revenge she never planned but desperately needed, and far away in that silent house. Daniel woke up with a strange sense of dread, unaware that his past mistakes were about to crush him, and that his daughter's escape would one day bring him to his knees. Stella waked through the silent London streets until her legs felt numb. She didn't know exactly where she was going, only that she could not go back. She found an old bus stop near the main road and sat down, hugging her little bag against her chest. The cold wind bit her skin, but her heart felt colder. Her mind replayed every moment of her father's strictness, the shouting, the pressure, the disappointment in his eyes. But she also remembered the father he used to be, gentle when her mother was alive, proud when she learned to ride a bicycle, caring when she had nightmares. That version of him felt like a story she had imagined. The city lights flickered as cars passed. Each sound made Stella jump a little. She was scared, but the idea of returning home scared her more soon. Morning light began to spread across the sky, painting the streets soft pink. Stella stood up, dusted her clothes, and walked toward the town center. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten anything since yesterday. She stopped at a small bakery, staring through the glass at rows of warm pastries. The sweet smell nearly pulled her inside, but she hesitated. She only had a few pounds. What if she needed it later? Still, hunger is louder than fear. She stepped inside. The baker, an older woman with silver hair tied in a bun, looked up and smiled gently. "Good morning, love. What can I get for you?" Stella's voice was small. "Just the cheapest thing you have." The woman nodded kindly and handed her a small croissant. Stella took it, placed her few coins on the counter, walked out without lifting her head. The baker watched her leave with a frown. She had seen that look before: fear, exhaustion, desperation. As Stella walked down the road eating the croissant, tears suddenly filled her eyes. Not because she felt sad, but because, for the first time, someone had spoken to her kindly. She sat on a bench, wiping her face. She didn't know what she would do next. Should she find a shelter? A friend's house? Should she try to get help? Her thoughts were interrupted when a group of older boys passed by. One of them noticed her bag and tired face. "She's run away from somewhere." He laughed to his friends. "Look at her." Stella lowered her head. Another boy grinned, stepping closer. "Hey girl, where are you going? You lost?" Stella stood up quickly. "No, I'm fine." "Where's your family?" He pushed. "I said I'm fine," she snapped. "It's walking away." The boys laughed but didn't follow her. After walking for hours, Stella found herself near a public library. She remembered her teacher mentioning it once: a quiet place, open to everyone. And she needed quiet more than anything. Inside, the warmth welcomed her instantly. She found a seat in the corner and sat down. The exhaustion of the past night crashed over her, and she fell asleep on her folded arms. An hour later, she woke up to a soft voice. "Are you okay?" Stella opened her eyes and saw a girl around her age: short black hair, brown eyes, a school uniform different from hers. She looked friendly, genuinely friendly. "I'm Emma," the girl said with a smile. "You look tired." Stella rubbed her eyes. "Yeah, just needed rest." Emma sat beside her. "You're from Westwood High, right? I've seen your uniform before." Stella stiffened. Yeah." Emma tilted her head. "Did you run away?" Stella froze. Emma raised both hands. "Hey, I'm not judging. I kind of did the same last year. My mom was drinking a lot and things got bad, but I got help. There's this counselor in the community center. Maybe you could talk to someone." Stella swallowed hard. "I don't know." Kima smiled softly. "It's better than being alone." For the first time, Stella felt a spark of safety with a stranger. Meanwhile, back at home, Daniel had woken up early for work. When he passed Stella's room and saw the bed empty, he assumed she was in the bathroom. But when he went downstairs and still didn't see her, a strange knot formed in his stomach. "Stella." He called out. Silence. He searched the house again. Nothing. He looked at the front door. It wasn't locked. His breath grew uneven. All the strictness, all the control, all the shouting. He had pushed her away. He realized in that moment that his daughter was gone because of him. He called the neighbors. No one had seen her. He checked the school. She wasn't there. He tried calling her phone. It rang once, then went dead. Panic, guilt, and fear mixed inside his chest like poison. He sat on the sofa, buried his face in his hands, and whispered, "What have I done?" But fate was already moving. Stella's disappearance would soon expose Daniel's deepest flaws. And the revenge she never planned would begin on its own. Because when a parent loses a child, the world stops. And when the truth comes out, everyone pays. Stella spent the next few weeks learning quickly that freedom was far heavier than she had imagined. The city looked bright from afar, but up close it was sharp-edged, full of voices that didn't care who she was or why she had come. She lived in a shared room with noisy strangers, worked after-school cleaning tables in a small cafe, and spent her nights studying by the dim light of a lamp that flickered whenever the heater kicked on. Yet every day she reminded herself that even the hardest struggle was better than feeling trapped inside her father's house. She told no one about her family or the reason she left. But the weight of it lived inside her chest as if it had followed her all the way to the city. One evening after work, while she was wiping down tables, a woman named Clara, one of the regular customers, approached her with gentle curiosity. Clara had seen Stella reading textbooks during breaks and noticed the tired determination in her eyes. She asked whether Stella had family nearby, and when Stella hesitated, Clara did not push. Instead, she simply said that if Stella ever needed help with school or simply a place to talk, she was welcome to stop by her community center. Stella quietly nodded but did not respond. Trust was something she no longer gave easily. Weeks passed and the pressure grew. School assignments piled up, work hours increased, and the loneliness gnawed at her more than she expected. One night, when her part-time boss blamed her for a mistake she hadn't made and docked her pay, the weight became too much. She walked outside behind the building and cried quietly, leaning against the cold wall. Her tears felt hot on her cheeks in the winter air. And then she remembered Clara's offer. With trembling hands, she decided to go. The community center was warm and quiet, soft lights and shelves filled with donated books. Clara sat at a table sorting papers. When she looked up and saw Stella, she didn't ask questions. She simply brought her a cup of warm tea and let her sit. That night, Stella didn't speak much, but she returned again the next day, and then again the next week. Slowly, she began to share pieces of her truth. She told Clara about her father's strictness, how he controlled every hour of her life, how he shouted when she made mistakes, and how she had felt like a prisoner instead of a daughter. She told her how she had run away, thinking the world outside would be easier simply because she could breathe without permission. Clara listened with calm, steady eyes. She didn't judge or tell Stella what she should have done. Instead, she helped her understand something Stella had never considered. Running away didn't mean she was weak, it meant she was desperate to feel safe. And wanting freedom was not a crime. The days slowly grew brighter for Stella. She found a better job through Clara's help, one where the manager treated her with basic respect. Her grades improved, and for the first time she started to imagine a future she could control. She still thought about her father often, but not with fear. It was something different now, something colder and sharper. A small part of her wanted him to know that she had survived without him, that she had built something from nothing. Another part wanted him to feel even a fraction of the pain he had caused her. She didn't know whether that was revenge or justice or simply hurt that had nowhere else to go. One afternoon, after almost 3 months away from home, Stella received a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her breath froze. It was from her father. His message was short: "Come home now. No apology. No explanation. Just an order." Stella stared at the screen for a long time, her hands shaking. She felt a storm of emotions: anger, fear, confusion, but also a kind of strength she had not felt before. She wasn't the same girl who had run down the stairs in the middle of the night with nothing but a backpack. She had changed. She had grown. She knew now what it felt like to breathe freely. That night she talked to Clara about the message. Clara didn't tell her what choice to make. Kate only reminded her of how far she had come and how much power she had gained by standing on her own. Stella realized something she had been avoiding for months. She could not truly move forward until she confronted the past she had run from. Not because she owed her father anything, but because she owed herself closure. With a deep breath, she made a decision. She would face him not as a scared daughter, but as someone who had learned to fight for herself. Whatever came next, it would be on her terms, and for the first time. Stella felt something that almost resembled victory rising inside her chest. Stella stood at the bus stop early in the morning, clutching the straps of her backpack as the wind brushed cold against her face. The sky was pale, the kind that looked almost colorless before sunrise. She had barely slept, but her mind was clear. She wasn't returning as a runaway child. She was returning as someone who had rebuilt herself from nothing. When the bus arrived, she stepped inside with steady steps, feeling the weight of her past behind her and the fire of her newfound strength pushing her forward. The bus ride felt long. Memories surfaced with every passing tree, every familiar road. Her heart twisted each time she thought about her father's message. He hadn't said he missed her. He hadn't said he was worried. Just an order cold, demanding, as if she owed him obedience simply because he was her father. But Stella wasn't the same girl he once controlled. She had learned that love without respect was a cage. And she was done being trapped. When she reached her neighborhood, everything looked smaller than she remembered. The houses, the streets, even the gate of her own home looked like it belonged to a different life. She stood outside the door for a long moment before finally knocking. The sound echoed inside her chest. Her father opened the door. His face was tired, angrier than she expected. There were dark circles beneath his eyes, his jaw clenched tight. For a moment, he simply stared at her, shock flickering across his face before it hardened into coldness. "So," he said, "you finally decided to show your face." Stella met his eyes without flinching. "You told me to come." He stepped aside stiffly to let her in. The house felt strange, familiar but distant, like a place she had once dreamed about rather than lived in. Her father closed the door behind her and folded his arms. "You embarrass this family," he said. "Do you have any idea what people said when you ran away? I had to lie for you. I said you were staying with relatives. I was humiliated." Stella felt something sharp twist inside her, but she held her voice steady. "I didn't run to embarrass you. I ran because I couldn't breathe in this house." Her father scoffed. "You were dramatic and spoiled. I gave you everything, and you repaid me by disappearing." "You gave me rules," she said, "but never freedom, never trust, never love without fear." His eyes narrowed. "So now you think you're an adult because you lived alone for a few months? You think you're strong now? Let me tell you something. No." Stella's voice rose before she even realized it. "You don't get to talk to me like that anymore." Her father's mouth froze. He wasn't used to her talking back. Not like this. Stella continued, words pouring out of her like a dam breaking. "I've been scared of you my whole life. Scared to make mistakes. Scared to disappoint you. Scared to be myself. But out there, I learned something. I learned that I'm not weak. I learned that I can survive on my own. And I learned that the person who was supposed to protect me was the one I needed protection from." Her father stepped toward her, face red with anger. "You ungrateful child. I raised you alone. I worked myself sick. And this is what I get." Stella didn't back away. "You didn't raise me. You controlled me. There's a difference." His hands shook with fury, but she wasn't afraid. "Not anymore. I came back," she said softly, "to tell you something I couldn't say before. I'm not staying here. I'm not your prisoner anymore." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the sound of both their breaths. The anger in his eyes dimmed with disbelief. "Where will you go? You think the world will take care of you? You think you don't need family?" "I have people who care," she said. "People who actually listen. And I can take care of myself." He sank into a chair, his expression cracking for the first time. She saw sadness, their real, raw sadness, but it came too late. After everything he had done, the regret had arrived only when he lost power over her. "So, you really won't come back?" he asked quietly. "No," Stella whispered. "I can't." She walked to the door. Before stepping out, she turned one last time. "I hope someday you learn what love really means. Because control isn't love. Fear isn't love. And I deserve better." Her father didn't answer. Stella stepped outside, closed the door behind her, and felt the cold air fill her lungs. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It felt clean. She walked down the familiar street with a steady heart, leaving behind the place that had shaped her pain. But this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Months later, Stella excelled in school, earned scholarships, and became someone the world actually noticed. She volunteered at Clara's community center, helping other teenagers who ran from homes that suffocated them. She became a voice for them, the voice she never had when she needed one. One day, as she was leaving the center, she received a message from an unknown number again. When she opened it, she froze. It was from her father. But this time the message was different. Only 5 words. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Stella stared at the message, and for a moment she felt tears burn behind her eyes. Not because she wanted to go back, not because she forgave him entirely, but because she finally had the closure she deserved. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. Walking down the street with sunlight warming her face, she realized her revenge had never been about hurting him. Her revenge was living a life, he said. She couldn't. Her revenge was freedom, success, healing. Her revenge was becoming someone stronger than her past. And Stella finally felt truly, beautifully free.